Hi,
Good afternoon,
Karanveer.
Mr. Karanveer Singh.
Hello.
Hi, good afternoon. We'll start in another 5-10 minutes. We just wait for more people to join in. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you, Ritesh.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ratish, sorry.
It's okay.
Hi, this is Tarun Chaturvedi.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. So I think we'll start in a while.
Okay. So, Ratish, are we already live?
I'm sorry, sir. I didn't get that.
So, are we already live?
Yeah, we're already live. We just wait for the attendees, few more attendees to join in. They're just trickling in one by one. So then we'll start in another 5 minutes or so.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hi, Ratish. I think we can begin. We are also live on the custom broadcast platform. So, in the interest of time, we can go ahead, Ratish, please.
Sure. Okay. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. So, welcome to day 3 of ICC India Startup Week. Today, we'll have sessions on the EdTech, role of academia in entrepreneurship building and startup ecosystem, followed which we'll have another session on why is India the land of unicorns. And then we'll have a state presentation by Meghalaya. We'll have a country presentation by Business Russia. And we'll then have a masterclass by Mr. Sanjay Mehta, founder and partner of 100XPC. Starting with our first session, we'll have a panelist here. This session on EdTech, role of academia in entrepreneurship building and startup ecosystem. May I take this opportunity to invite Mr. Tarun Chaturvedi, Senior VP, HR and Consulting, and Program Director, Citibank Social Innovation Lab at IIT Kanpur. Mr. Tarun is in his current role of Citibank Social Innovation Lab, is responsible for growing and strengthening the startup ecosystem at IIT Kanpur and beyond, supporting startups in their growth journey. He also leads corporate communications, strategic partnerships, and First Academy that offers programs in entrepreneurship and innovation. He has led several businesses and organizational initiatives of excellence in the industry with organizations such as Tata Chemicals, Zensar, IIM Lucknow, and IIT Kanpur, just to name a few. Welcome, Mr. Chaturvedi. Next, we have Mr. SM Ronak Mustafa, CEO, IIM Lucknow Incubator. Mr. Mustafa is a passionate entrepreneur development and business incubator with years of experience of promoting startups in India and the neighboring countries. He has been instrumental in setting up 5 government-approved technologies, mentored over 500 startups, and trained more than 5,000 aspiring entrepreneurs. He is currently working on open innovation and corporate venturing to transform the startup ecosystem in India and advising many Indian PSUs and corporates such as HPCL, ONGC, GAIL, NFL, and more like this, for launching its corporate venture fund for promoting innovations and startups. He is highly networked with investors community and possesses great PR skill. Welcome, Mr. Mustafa.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Next, we have Mr. Abhishek Gupta, Managing Partner of T Ventures at Times Internet. Mr. Gupta has achieved great success in investing in early stage startups with unparalleled results. He created India's most successful startup accelerator, T Labs, that later became TI Fund, with investments in over 60 startups with a healthy exit number and with high IRR. He has led multiple acquisitions over time, fostering some of the iconic startups of India in the program since their inception. Prior to this, Mr. Gupta has worked across verticals and was the VP of Technology at Lime Labs India, where he has led product and technology initiatives for 2 internet businesses, Lime Domains and Lime Exchange. Welcome, Mr. Gupta. I think he would be joining in a bit. I think he's got a internet issue or something. We have with us Mr. Subhajit Roy, co-founder and director, Krishworks Technology. Mr. Roy is a social entrepreneur by profession, working on early childhood education for rural children. He is the co-founder of Krishworks, which runs literacy programs for kids in rural areas, helping them read, write, and communicate in English. All this by training local teachers and supporting them with technology. Welcome, Mr. Roy.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
And all of this, we have our moderator, Mr. Karanveer Singh, founder and CEO, Pariksha. Karanveer Singh is the founder and managing director of Pariksha, the largest vernacular edtech company. He studied MA in International Relations and Affairs, Activities and Societies from Symbiosis International University, and Masters of Law in Banking, Corporate Finance and Securities Law by Symbiosis Law School, Pune. Welcome, Mr. Singh. All on to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ratish.
So we may begin with the panel discussion, sir.
Great. So, welcome everyone. We have a very esteemed panel here. And I think the topic couldn't be more exciting. The role of academia in boosting entrepreneurship and startup ecosystem in our country. Right. I think we are at the cusp of innovation in our country. Let me come to Ronak first. Ronak, I want to understand from you, you are very closely associated with IIM Lucknow. What role is IIM Lucknow and other academic institutions, in your knowledge, playing to boost startup ecosystem and entrepreneurship in our country?
Thank you so much. And it's an honor for me to be part of this great program of ICE, Indian Chamber of Commerce. And very happy to, interact with all my co-panel members also. And as Mr. Karanveer was saying, that is a very exciting topic, the role of academia in promoting entrepreneurship and creating startups, right? So I have, the comment on this. This would be, I will conclude this into three things. Number one is that I see a very important role of academia in terms of promoting the culture, right? Entrepreneurial culture, because academia has, students, those are very young, vibrant. So, the culture can be developed from the academia so that these young minds can start thinking and aspiring to become entrepreneurs tomorrow. So that seeding of or germination of entrepreneurship as a career option is very, very essential for this country to really boost the ecosystem of this country. Second role, what I see from the academia is to develop the competence. So competence development, it means entrepreneurial talent development. Now it's a very debatable, can entrepreneurs be taught? Or, we had long debate on this, and academia people and, the startup community, different opinion. Okay, entrepreneurship can also be taught, entrepreneurship may not be taught, right? But yes, there are certain skill set you need to develop. For example, you may be a very good innovator, or you may be a very good technocrats. You can, design a product, right? But leading the organization, developing the organization, you need a certain competence. And most of the time, what we have seen in our experience, that leadership skill development is very, very important for these startup people. So, the CXO leadership development for the new enterprises, or CXO leadership development for the startup founders are very, very vital. So in totality, if I just, say that, the competence building, skill development, or the entrepreneurial talent development is the second very, very important role I see from the academia, whether it is a PGP program of entrepreneurship or certificate program of entrepreneurship, or maybe, the certificate program on leadership development or innovation management, or maybe, managing your cap table, lots of the things, but this all comes under the umbrella of competence development. Third very important role, what we see from the academic institution, is providing infrastructural support. So when we are talking infrastructure support, it means for an innovator, they need a basic infrastructure support where they can do the R&D, they can, do the prototyping, they can build the product, right? So that kind of the setup is required for this startup, for these founders, which academia can provide easily because they have that kind of the R&D DNA or R&D ecosystem within the campus. So intellectual capital plus hard capital, both, if you combine that, I'm saying that infrastructural support. For example, let's say if a company is starting something into computer vision analytics, right? They need some kind of a machine like NVIDIA GPU, like the box, or NVIDIA GPU supercomputer, which is very, very costly device. A startup cannot, go and buy it. So if this kind of the laboratory is this kind of the infrastructure is available within the academic institution and given to the startup, given to the founders for experiment, for research and development, that would be a great support for the startup. So this is three important supports what I see can be provided from the academic institutions.
So I think, Ronak, you have touched on a very important thing, culture. I think culture plays a very vital role in boosting any kind of ecosystem, be it entrepreneurial, be it innovation. So I want to come to Subhajit. Subhajit, you had been an entrepreneur. So I want to understand from you, what do we mean by entrepreneurial culture or entrepreneurial mindset?
Just to start off, from my early stage.
I'm sorry, Subhajit, you're not audible. I think there's an audio problem.
Is it better now? Is it okay? Hello?
I'm sorry, I think we're still facing some issue. Let me go to Tarun in the meantime. Tarun, what more can education institutions, you're part of IT Kanpur Incubation Center, right? What more can education institutions provide in terms of support to budding entrepreneurs?
Thank you so much, Karan. This is a pretty interesting question. But even before that, I would just like to say a few words. That one, that I'm so glad to be part of this startup week, and particularly for being on the panel of this discussion, when we just had almost more than 50,000 startups being registered this year. That number has been touched, in which almost 10,000 of those were registering themselves in the last 6 months. And that's the kind of high we have in the current times. We had almost 27 to 29 unicorns being produced in India, and that's such a great news for all of us. And within these times, the question is very pertinent, that what academia can do, and how do we provide support to the ecosystem. So one, I want to quote a couple of examples. So among those unicorns, you have got one such name, which is Gupshup. So which was founded in IIT Bombay in 2004, and they had a long journey to attain that stage or level or that milestone. But it's really wonderful to see that one unicorn has been, and there would be few more. I don't know the roots of all of them, but there will be far more number of connections with the academia existing uh, within these startups, which have become unicorn now, especially from our country, our nation. Uh, One of the things which, and I'd like to take a couple of other names. So it was 2015 when one of our own startup was valued at 555 million USD, has been invested uh, by Roche Pharma, which is a Swiss pharma giant. Now, imagine a company, a startup, which is able to fetch that kind of valuation. Uh, they, of course, were into cancer drug research, and those are so that indicates that what academia can do. So, in fact, I am at a loss in terms of speaking after Ronak, because he has touched a couple of points which I wanted to bring in. But thank you so much. I'll build something on that. Anyway, so I was pointing out that what academic incubators are able to deliver is the work which involves fundamental research. So one Curative is a example. I can tell you a few more. In last 1 year, we were able to produce some very good startup results from startup. Some great results in terms of, let's say, a company which could create invasive ventilator in straight 82 days, whereas you have large giants, organizations of the size of, let's say, whether Ford or GM were pushed to produce or do R&D and do product innovation, build in these ventilators, whereas there is a small startup which has hardly any resources, could create a product of global quality which could stand up to, or in fact compete with, as well as beat on certain parameters in terms of performance, that could be created at a such fast pace, and that could only be done with the support of academic research, which is being pursued all along, all this while. So academic infrastructure, which Ronak was pointing out, is so very important in all those where there is a critical research, and the products are built on those critical research, critical findings over a period of time. So lots of faculty members who do that, who are part of those research, are able to support those startups who are trying to create a product. So there would be one such. So I mean, there are many more examples. There is eSpin Nanotech, who had an innovation in fiber weaving, and they could create masks which are of the best quality in the world, and so on and so forth. And the third is that one of the areas is that there is a great need further to bring together several other academic institutions. So in fact, like IIM Lucknow has a collaboration agreement with IIT Kanpur on certain front to bring together infrastructural support to the companies which are incubated here with us. So that kind of collaboration is happening. IIT Kanpur has collaborated with KGMU Lucknow to have incubation arrangement between these two institutions and support engineers and doctors to create new medtech equipments that would support especially doctors in terms of helping or access to technology to the wider in the country, especially in case of a, and so on and so forth. So my point is one that I support more in terms of what Ronak has already said, that entrepreneurial spirit which is generated. So if you look at the roots of entrepreneurial spirit among all those unicorns are germinated around when they were the students, and that's the most critical input or critical contribution academic incubation centers or academics play in terms of supporting the startup ecosystem. You're on mute, Karan.
Thank you. Thank you, Tarun. We have Subhajit back with us. Subhajit, what do you mean by entrepreneurial mindset? The culture that Ronak was talking about.
So, am I audible now, right?
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes, you're much better.
Thanks. So, see, I just wanted to go back to my college days back in 2010. So just like all the other panelists were telling that you are a technocrat, you are a geek, you want to build something. I also wanted to do the same, but in those days I really did not have anybody to follow. I had only one person, a very super senior of mine, who used to build robotics kits and he used to sell. I thought that okay, maybe one day I will be like him. But as you know, like I did not have that environment or anybody to tell me, see, these are the things that should be done so that you can also become an entrepreneur. I did not have that. So I believe that I always feel that if I had I started my entrepreneur career back in 2014. If I had started early, maybe I would have got a lot of more opportunities to fail, because when you start off with entrepreneurship, you are prepared for various things. Initial days you will try something, you will come up with MVP, you will build something, you will go to the customer will give you feedback, and you go through a complete cycle. But had I started the same thing during the college days, it would have been much better. Now, you had asked me the last question about culture. So as a college student, a college student is very inexperienced. What he sees in front of him is, when it comes to engineering, he sees, okay, there are, a lot of, I can build this code, I can build this hardware, I can build this device. His mind is filled with those ideas. But what he does not know, that entrepreneurship is a journey. So I feel that, if there was somebody to tell them, see, if you want to choose entrepreneurship as your career, okay, you have built a product, it is good. But now the next thing that you need to find out, whether the target segment or the customer that you are thinking to sell this product, whether they really want this or not. And if you want to, find out whether the target customer that you have thought of wants this, or then you need to go and try to find out. You need to do a survey. You need to do a market research. And first and foremost thing, you need to find your first customer anyhow. And that first customer can be a friend or somebody else, because it is always the first customer who helps you build your product, and that product is finally going to build your company. There are lots of things comes up, and so when you first think of entrepreneurship, you always start building your team among your friends. Whether those friends is actually whether will actually help you down the line, and you can build a company out of that. So all those guidance, if I always felt that if college students can get such guidance, then it will be of lot of help. Because whenever colleges invite me to um, speak to their students, I get these sorts of questions. So in some way, if there was some kind of guidance or something for these college students, then I think that's the best time to start off.
Interesting, very interesting.
Currently.
So, Ronak, I want to understand from you, when we look at education institutions in our country, most of the time the perception that we have is that education institutions are kind of job factories, right? Where you enroll into a program, and by the time you graduate, probably you have a job letter in your hand. How can that be changed? Are education institutions like yours and other leading education institutions adopting policy of deferred placement and even deferred admission that probably the West is adopting very nicely?
Mr. Karanveer, this is really $1 million question. And I don't know whether I would be really doing the justice to answer this question or not, but it's a very big question. So, yes, see, unfortunately, the academic institution become kind of a placement agency. So when, you are sending your student or your, boy or girl for admission, what they are looking, what is the placement from your college and what kind of the pay package you have. So that, and basis on that, they select the colleges. I'm not talking only IITs and IIM, that's a big thing, but in common, because this country is a very large country and only IIMs and IIT cannot, make the impact overall for this country to create larger impact. So if you look, all the academic institutions, tier 2, tier 3, whatever. So how they are picking up, they are picking up the colleges basis on their placement record. Right. If you take example and go back to the UC Berkeley, because I have spent about 6 weeks there. Fortunately, learned a lot of new things there. And one is that corporate innovation and the student enterprise creation. So student enterprise creation has its own challenge. Number one is that even if you are taking example of IIT and IIM, the cost of the course is very high. Right? They are spending 20 lakhs, 22 lakhs, 18 lakh, whatever, the money for that education. And normally they are taking the education loan. And when they are graduating out, they have the burden how to serve those loans. So then taking a risk for the entrepreneurial as a career option is becoming a mammoth decision for them. Somehow, the educational institution has to bring some mechanism to provide some kind of the debarred placement, or maybe, some kind of the 2 years or 3 years moratorium period with the banks to serve the loan, so that these students can be given a chance, opportunity to take entrepreneurship as a career for 2 years, 3 years, because 2 years for a startup is good enough to understand whether you are going into the right direction or you are going into the bad direction. Right. So institutional structural changes required. which is a very mammoth job, right? Yes, AICT is trying bit, UGC is trying bit, but for those institutions who are autonomous, I think they can make really the difference. And one thing, like works in India is a pressure. So pressure of what? Pressure of ranking. So even, like other colleges are dying for the ranking. And let me tell you, ranking are totally based on the research. So there is no matrix ki how many startup you have created from your organization.
I was about to come to this, that should we start having, ranking in terms of how many companies an education institution is producing?
Exactly. So I was quoting you, like I spent some time at UC Berkeley and Oxford and other places. You see that they are saying that I have produced this many number of startups. We have raised, like this much money from the external fund, right? So those things are becoming now the parameters to check the performance of the campuses. The moment this thing will come in India, you will really see great change. Just allow me 1 second, 30 seconds only. One more suggestion for the academic institution, right? Or you can say that this is going to play a very important role in terms of promoting more and more quality entrepreneurs. Collaboration. As my colleague panel member, Mr. Tarun, was highlighting that IIM Lucknow has signed up with IIT Kanpur. So see, try to understand. If IIM Lucknow is claiming that I will help into your technology, nobody is going to buy it, right? Because they will say, hey, you are a good business school. You understand business, but don't claim that you understand technology, right? But if you go to the IIT Kanpur has the complete DNA of the technology. They cannot claim that they understand better business than IIMs, right? So similarly, these two giant institutions has to come together. As we have seen that you are doing engineering from IIT and joining MBA of IIM, right? Similarly, that kind of the mechanism has to come into this ecosystem where technology part can be developed at the technology institution, and then further commercialization support can be provided by the business schools. If this collaboration starts happening and then the corporate comes, then it would be really very, very exciting to see that, because corporate innovation and corporate venturing is one of the area which is very, very emerging in this space. And I think I have limited time, so I'll not take
No,
your
I think you touched on very interesting thing. The three parameters that should be included in all educational rankings should be how many startups have been produced in that organization, education institution, probably how many jobs have they created, and how much amount of investment have they raised in the market. Tarun, I want to understand from you, how are corporate like yours supporting education institutions to fuel entrepreneurship and the startup culture at the campuses?
So Karanveer, I think I am part of IIT Kanpur's incubation center, but I can tell you that how corporates are able to support our cause, our activities. One, that there has been lots of CSR funding that has been flowing in support to some of the critical initiatives of startups. Like in the last year, as everyone is aware, that there were lots of startups who were trying to address the challenges around the pandemic situation. And within these times, there has been lots of. So I've talked about Noka Robotics, which has built a ventilator in record time, which is now part of Limca Book of Records for creating that feat. They were supported by lots of corporates, so including HDFC, ICI, and others. There were other startups who were trying to do a couple of things. There has been another initiative during this during the your second second wave of pandemic, we started an initiative called Bharat Mission O2, where lots of corporate help has poured in. Besides, what we have also started doing is to address the problems which typical corporates face, which requires lots of R&D, and where corporates have agreed to, collaborate with some of our startups. To name a few, like Punjab National Bank has collaborated with us in terms of they have floated 12 problem statements, and our startups were building solutions for those problem statements. There has been a Association of Paper Industry. They have come with some of the challenges related to waste management, waste redressal, and our companies have supported them. So there are large number of such initiatives, and it is not. I must say that it is not limited to the incubator we run here, but there is lots of such synergy which has been developed, which has been identified, and then some good direction has been identified and action has taken place. I hope I've answered your question.
No, you did. You did. Subhajit, I want to understand from you, how would things pan out differently if you had the vibrant culture that we see today at education institutions, the entrepreneur culture that we see today at some of these IITs and IIMs? How would your journey be different?
I would have got more time to experiment. When I left my job, I was under a lot of family pressure because there was a lot of people telling me, why did you leave your job, and a lot of things I had to face. If I had started just after college, I think I would have got a lot of chances to experiment with various things actually. And things would have been better. Today I would have been at a better place. And my passion was electronics. Okay. So I became a social entrepreneur much later. So I was a hardcore geek. So in those days, I think I had more weird ideas than what I have now. Today, if I think of some idea, then I will start thinking, okay, this is possible or not possible. When you are in college, you don't think, okay, this is an idea. If I can make it possible, then I will be somewhere. So I think the raw mind has has a capability of, has more creativity than when you have. So I have seen many startups, okay, who have started right after college. Some failed, some really went forward. The startups who failed, I mainly saw they had wonderful ideas, but they did not get good guidance because it gets very, very difficult. Although I understand there are a lot of incubation centers, many things, but the whole journey, right? Entrepreneurship is a journey. It's not a 1 year stint or 2 year stint, not a 5 year stint. Initially the challenges changes. First challenge is to make the POC, whether it will work or not. Second challenge is whether your POC will be accepted by the customer. Third challenge is, okay, now that few customers, now what about manufacturing? How do you scale it? Once you go forward, then okay, company culture becomes important. Okay, like when you have more and more employees, the HR management, financial management, all those challenges come. How do you maintain a very good work culture? Because at one point of time, you really want to set up a company where all your colleagues work independently. There is good culture. Any wrong hiring, anything will create a lot of problem for you. So all this experience, so entrepreneurship is a journey. So all this guidance, if I would have got when I was in college, it would have been much better. But as you know, like it always appeared like, okay, startup. So this side is dark, the other side of the river is green. It always felt like that. Some sort of guidance and all these things would have helped. So things would have been a bit different.
Absolutely, absolutely. Entrepreneurship is a marathon.
Karan, can I add something to that?
I'm sorry?
Can I add something to that?
Please go ahead.
So, in fact, Subhaji, these days, to answer, to add to your response as well as to the question what Karanveer has asked earlier. So, at least IIT Kanpur and a couple of other premier institutions have started deferred placement. So, which means that placement support would be available to the students for many more years, rather than only during the graduating year. So that has helped a lot, students a lot. And this year we have floated a program for those students who wanted to start a venture, especially from the incubation center at IIT Kanpur, that we have extended support to some of those companies. Some of them have, worked with us for some time However, the results are yet to come. And that spirit has further been supported in a way that this word would get spread. So not necessarily that all of those who were interested to venture into their startup would have come forward this year only. It would take a couple of years when you see that people would take that bold chances despite the risks Ronak was referring. And I'm sure, I mean, there has been a good response. So at this year, in fact, we have just we are just in the process of supporting establishment of incubation centers at different government engineering colleges of UP. So in fact, the principal secretary to the CM, Shri Alok Kumarji, has just tweeted today about it. So the point is that we are trying to reach out to, so this ecosystem would definitely be able to motivate and support all those students even who have got an inclination towards entrepreneurship, and they have the innovators mindset, and great amount of support is pouring in. These are the best times to be an entrepreneur. I'm sure everyone would agree. Subhajit, definitely you have lost many years, probably few decades, but as someone was referring to, the statistics says that success rate after age of 40 increases with entrepreneurial ventures, and you have founders more than 40 years. So you have got greater chance to build a unicorn now than you had earlier.
Absolutely. So I have a question for both Ronak as well as Tarun. What we have seen generally that education institutions are more than happy to go and partner with established corporates, right? Or even successful startups. But they're very reluctant to partner with early stage company. In my experience, the learning that uh, students can derive from associating with a very early startup is huge. So how open are education institutions, especially IIM Lucknow, how open is IIM Lucknow to partner with a really early stage startup? I'm not talking about, Byju's or Oyos or Olas of the world. I'm talking about startup which has just started taking baby steps.
See, I think, let me understand your question. Are you talking about, like the partnership for the placement?
No, so I'm saying that what generally we have noticed is that education institutions, for instance, my two co-founders, they come from IIT Kanpur, right? And generally education institutions are more than happy to collaborate with established company which has raised maybe several rounds of investment. So there is a safety net. When we are talking about internship, they are more open to send their students there. But when a startup is at a very early stage, when they have less than 10 team members, the learning is immense. As you start growing up, the challenges, the risk, and the learning all goes down.
I totally agree with your point of view. So see, actually, one is that associating with the startup, and second is the promotion of a startup, promoting and development of the startup. So when we are talking about the development of a startup, it is absolutely a different subject. And when we are going to talk about the associating with the startup, that may be, like a different subject and different purpose. So see, now aligned collaboration, if you talk about collaboration with the startup, right, for internship or for the learning purpose, or even for the hiring purpose, right? Typically with this IIMs and IT setup is that, like the package, etc. But what I have seen a different change from last 4-5 years, I can say. Even IIMs and IITs, boys and girls, are very open to work with the startup companies. So the only challenge is that the startup has to create such system where you can take this company, because you won't be able to pay that much money, right? So what would be the other attraction? So either, you can provision the ESOP, take them into the lead position, right? Right, for yourself, for your strategy, or maybe as a co-founder, you can look, right? I keep suggesting a lot of founders who are coming from the technology background, and they are playing a role of a CEO, right? So they are inventor, they are scientists, they are innovator, and they are, like holding the position of CEO. I don't know why they are so much in love with the CEO position, right? So I say that, first of all, you should not carry the CEO position, because CEO, the typical characteristic and typical responsibility of a CEO in a startup, as per my experience of 10, 20 years of working with these startup companies, from Oyo, Ola, everybody, right? CEO job is to bring the resources in your company and to close the sales. So being a CEO of a startup company, if you are expecting that somebody would be hired and who will do the sales closer, I think it's a dream, right? And it is not workable. So as a CEO, you have to be salesman and then the resource manager or resource provider to the company. That's two important roles. So you have to play a father role, and CTO has to play a mother role, right? It means building the product, taking care about the product, platform, technologies. So no matter you are the innovator, you are the ideator, you can be CEO, you can be a technology manager, right? The CTO and technology manager, and you can look for the CEO position. And then if you are coming to the IIMs or this kind of the prestigious institution, identifying the like-minded people who can really drive your company to the next level. So as a co-founder, that's a great door can be opened. And many IIMs graduates are now joining to the startup with this provision, because they are also seeing a great opportunity in terms of growth. If you take example of Bharat Pay, one of my like a very known person, Shalabh Agarwal, right? He was a director technology there, right? Within 2 years, he became crorepati. So the kind of return you cannot expect anywhere else. So that's the taste and joy of working with the startup. So working with the startup, if you are having that kind of the system or like the provision, then you can attract these people. Now, give me 30 seconds more, Mr. Karanveer.
Please.
This is related to that jobs and internship and placement, what is my understanding, and I shared with you. Second is that in terms of developing the startup, so I just add on to Mr. Tarun related how we can work with the corporates. So yes, of course, he was talking about the CSR fund, but CSR fund is not coming to the private limited company. So a startup will not get direct benefit. So it comes to the incubator, and the incubator are doing lots of promotional activities and all. So as a startup, you cannot take that kind of the advantage of CSR directly from the corporates. So there is new model we have created. And you will be very happy to know that 90% of our startups are funded by corporates. So we are not, like only looking the angel and VCs, but like the corporates are more interested to work with our startup. So 90%, whether it is a Constem AI, a VDT pipeline, Skill Answer Robotics, or Simulanis AR VR technology company, or Frinks AI technologies. So all these companies are working with the corporates. How? That's called the corporate innovation and venturing. So if you look Intel, they have a beautiful model there. If you look 3Com, there is a beautiful model to work with the startup. And they have created their arm of investing against equity in the startup. Now, as an institution, if you can give the confidence to the corporate like IIT or IIM, it would be very easy for them to go and talk with the big companies, right? Because they feel that we both are brother. You are also, like the big boy. I am also big boy. So they have that comfort. And then you can position your startup as a product to them, right? For the support. a startup can get three beautiful value from the corporate. Number one, I will just go to Mr. Shubhajit Roy, comment that POC. If a startup are working with the corporates, you will get great opportunity to work on the POC, right? You can also fetch some kind of the pilot support, and you can also get an opportunity for the market access. When I'm talking about the market access, they have a very established network, supply chain. And the moment you click, immediately you rolled out to the pan India, or like whatever their network is available. So market access, POC pilot support, infrastructure support, industry expertise support, and capital support. You all 5 6 things you can fetch from the corporates. So it's I say it is a very very interesting association between a startup and corporate. So corporates are also getting a lot of benefit. It's win-win situation, because you are taking technology very faster on the table, which you cannot do the innovation within your house, right? You can take example of Ambassador, you can take example of HMT, right? They all fail, besides of like very emotional brand value.
No, so you have a valid point.
Right.
Mark, I think you made a good point. I want to come to Tarun. Tarun, how is the new national education policy helping education institutions like IIT Kanpur and others build a startup-friendly ecosystem? I think you're on mute, Tarun.
Yeah, thanks. So there has been special, items which indicate that the educational institutions have to provide lots of entrepreneurial education as well as support to build that mindset. So I don't recall some of those specific provisions, and therefore I'll refrain from stating anything specific. But in general, we have seen that even in the school education, course on entrepreneurship has been introduced, I think almost 5 7 years back. It has got its own benefits. You have got a young lad or young kids getting exposed to different dimensions of starting a new venture, starting from how to incorporate a company, and therefore it helps a lot in terms of improving the understanding of an individual to have a startup. In fact, now we have got couple of students who are not even graduates and have got support through some of the government grants, and especially on grassroots innovation. So there is one guy who has built a horizontal lathe machine, right, which is typically horizontal lathe machine. Otherwise, it's vertical. So that has been created by someone who has been studying in a ITI. No, he was not even a graduate. Now, some such features in the educational policy would have its impact and benefits in the years to come. The change has been introduced, I think, almost starting 10 years back, or I would say probably around the time in the change of, with the change of economic policy in 1991, and that has supported the entrepreneurial mindset within the country. HRD ministry has also started pushing that agenda through the curriculum as well as certain other additional activities. If you look at this entire concept of Atal Innovation Mission, which has been driven through academic system only. So majority of those centers, I close to 90% of them are extension to the academic institutions only. So therefore, with that kind of support, with that kind of change in policy has impacted in terms of building a great ecosystem within this country. Again, I would reiterate the same thing that we have seen this year. I think greater times are ahead. Subhajit and others would like to take benefit of these times and these spirit, where there was a time in yeah, late 90s and early 2000, before 2001 bubble crash. Uh, then, we are probably going past this that kind of bubble again, but this bubble would have lots of content and strength, and therefore it's not going to burst so easily.
Absolutely. So I want to understand it from Subhajit. Subhajit, if you have to make 2 or 3 recommendations to education institutions to fuel startup and entrepreneur ecosystem, what would they be?
I always feel that if you can create a system where the students are surrounded by more entrepreneurs, you will be creating an environment where entrepreneurship will be booming. So I always feel that. So that kind of environment, I really don't know whether it is possible in academic institutions, but if they could be surrounded by entrepreneurs, naturally there would be a change. So that's a very simple thing that I feel can be done.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Ronak, some of the leading education institutions like IITs and IIMs, they are doing wonderful when it comes to incubating, when it comes to supporting, when it comes to encouraging entrepreneurs and fueling startup ecosystem in our country. But a large number of tier 2, tier 3 education institutions, the even the concept of entrepreneurship and startups is missing from there. So how can education institutions like yours, IITs and IIMs, they can help these tier 2 and 3 education institutions to first, adopt the entrepreneurial and startup mindset, and then also help them in growing this ecosystem?
So very nice question, Mr. Karanveer. So I'll just like take one advantage and give my opinion also on the education policy what you are talking, because it is a very close to
Please
my
go ahead.
right. So if please allow me, I'll take only 1 minute. See, if you evaluate the education policy, current education policy, whether it is AICT, UGC, MHRD, they are completely focused on creating awareness, ignition, and skilling. So, as Mr. Subhojit Roy must be agree on that, when you are developing a technology, there is a hype, and then like the plateau, right? And reaching from hype to plateau, there is a biggest value of death, right? So, if you look into the education system, awareness, ignition, skilling is very essential. That is first, right? Now the challenge, what we see, is to convert into product development or prototype development. So if you go to the college, and engineering college, for example, what is happening? You are awarding a degree basis on the project report submitted in a text. That's right.
Right.
Can education policy guide don't give a textual project report, give a working prototype.
Absolutely.
Imagine the impact.
Absolutely.
Let's say suppose like 52 lakh engineers are graduating almost. Don't take me like a very correct figure. So this may be like from the Google.
I completely agree. I'm sorry, we'll have to respect time.
Right.
Time in a minute's time, but I completely agree with you, Ronak. I was at IIT Kanpur and I saw a lot of good research being stored in their storage room.
Right.
So if that could have been presented in the prototype format, probably you would have seen more commercialization of that research. So with this, I think we had a very interesting panel discussion here. My 3 recommendations to education institutions would be: first is to adopt a deferred admission policy for education institutions that are in graduate and master's program, and to adopt a deferred admissions policy for education institutions that are undergraduate. Then increasing the endowment pool if possible, so that education institutions are empowered to make their own investment and they do not have to rely on getting money from government or even from corporates, and to have a stronger corporate government partnership, wherein we focus more on the outcome rather than on the research papers. So thank you so much, Ritesh. Thank you so much, Tarun, Shobhajit, and Ronak, for this wonderful discussion.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Karanveer.
Thank you. That was a great talk, actually. Thank you, Mr. Tarun Chaturvedi, Mr. Ronak Mustafa, and Mr. Subhajit for your wonderful views. Thank you, Mr. Karan, for that wonderful session that you gave us. I think there's a lot that we had to take away from that. I could see a lot of buzz around those discussions in our channels and various channels across. Thanks a lot for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, and wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Dhananjay.
We'll just take a quick 2-minute break for our next panelists to just settle down, and we'll start with our next session. Why is India land of unicorns?
Hi, Ratish. I think we can start with the speaker introduction, as almost all the speakers are here. It will take some time by the time people can settle in. Thanks.
Sure. Yeah. Okay, moving on to our next session. Why is India land of unicorns? We have with us Mr. Ashneer Grover, co-founder and MD BharatPay. Mr. Grover is a seasoned professional with strong strategic vision and proven expertise across domains in both startups and top-tier organizations. He donned the entrepreneurial hat and co-founded BharatPay in the year 2018 with the vision to drive financial inclusion by building groundbreaking financial solutions for the Indian economy. He is currently building BharatPay as India's leading fintech company. In his current role, he leads strategy, product, technology, capital, and the overall people agenda. Welcome, Mr. Ashneer. We'll be joined by Mr. Karthik Prabhakar, partner at Chirate Ventures. Mr. Prabhakar has led investment advisory in consumer media and tech and fintech sectors. Apart from the additional responsibility of overseeing marketing for his firm, he has been part of the Indian tech ecosystem since 2005, with experience spanning in engineering, rapid prototyping, marketing, fundraising, investment advisory, and portfolio management. In 2018, Mr. Prabhakar was recognized as one of the 40 under 40 in the alternative investment space in India by AAAIS. For 3 consecutive years from 2016 to 2018, Karthik was recognized as one among the global top 100 rising stars in the venture industry by Global Corporate Venturing, held in California, the United States. Welcome, Mr. Karthik Prabhakar. We have with us Mr. Aman Gupta, co-founder and CMO, Boat Lifestyle. Mr. Gupta is co-founder and chief marketing officer of Imagine Marketing Services, doing the business under the brand Boat. Prior to co-founding Imagine Marketing Services, Mr. Gupta was the director of sales at Harman International, where he oversaw a portfolio of consumer electronic brands, including JBL, Harman Kardon, and AKG, which Harman International distributes in India. Welcome, Mr. Gupta. And moderating this particular session will be Mr. Abhishek Gupta, Abhishek Rungta, co-chairperson ICC Next. Mr. Rungta has over the last 20 years built an award-winning digital innovation venture, IndusNet Technologies, which has a team of more than 750 full-time professionals supporting more than 200 active clients across banking, financial services, insurance, retail, publishing, media, government, healthcare, and entertainment sectors in 5 continents. Welcome, Mr. Abhishek Rungta. Over to you.
Thank you, Ratnesh. Pleasure to have such an eminent panel. Welcome, all of you. Can we just switch on the videos? It just makes a little comfortable for everyone, hopefully, if you don't mind.
So I think all of them have actually put their videos on. The ones which are not on are from the other panel.
Okay, sure. Excellent. So just one second. Great. So I think it would be an understatement to say that it's raining unicorns in India nowadays, and and I believe guys that a unicorn is just a milestone, right? I think it's not the end of the journey. I think in a way it's the start of a journey, right? A start of a journey which brings a lot more the responsibility on the heads of the people who have made the company unicorn, and you have to take it forward because you have a lot more expectation, a lot more responsibility on you. So I would like to kind of get your thoughts, like how do you perceive a unicorn, right? So when a company becomes a unicorn, what is your perception about it? This I just shared how I perceive a unicorn. Obviously it's a milestone, but what are your views on that? Like what is special in becoming a unicorn? Maybe Aman, you can take the lead.
Hey, thanks, man. Thanks, Abhishek. So yeah, so I feel that it plays out in a very special way. We are not a unicorn yet, but some everybody and every company has to aspire to be one, right? So I'll give you a small example. Like if you look at Bollywood, there is a 100 crore club, then there is a 200 crore club, right? There are aspirations. That means that you are becoming valued a little higher every time. So same way when I started off, we were looking at as a sales of 100 crores, right? And a valuation of X. Then we did sales of X, sales of 2X and a valuation of X. So Unicorn Club is actually, it's something like that. It's like a 100 crore club of movies. A Unicorn Club is a group of companies which we all look forward to. So it's like the first, your first paycheck is the most important. So the first, being a unicorn is like one of that moments where you want to be a unicorn. You want to be in that unicorn club.
True.
That's the feeling which I can say.
So you look at more as a kind of a club achievement on the path to your journey, right?
Yes, exactly.
Excellent, excellent. What about you, Ashneer? I mean, you are already a unicorn, so what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I have slightly different thoughts on the whole concept of unicorn. I think it's a bunkum concept, right? Essentially, it's a definition of anyone being valued at more than $1 billion, right?
Yeah.
Now, that in a different market 3 years, 4 years back had a lot more relevance when that club was a small set of companies, right? Who had really broken out for category leaders and therefore being in that segment or being called a unicorn had special value, right? Today, as a business person, I think it only spoils things for you, doesn't give you anything additional, right? Maybe a few uncles would call you up and congratulate you on WhatsApp, but that it has zero additional value in my view, right? I think what it does end up doing is in some way give a false sense of achievement to the team. It gives some false sense of achievement to or concept of having done something great to an investor, where he's just put in more money, he's not got anything out as yet. And in an extreme case, if it goes into the founder's head, it can really screw things up for the whole business, right? So I think in today's world, unicorn is the new Series A, right? That if it has value for you, it has value for you. For me, doesn't change anything. I don't like being called a unicorn. I am very happy to give away that tag voluntarily if there is someone to give that tag to. But that's my 2 cents on being a unicorn.
Sure. And I mean, what do you think, Ram? Hi, Ram, are you there?
No, he's not there. He's not a part of the panel.
He's not joined. Sorry. Sorry about that. And what about, I mean, just 1 second. I think I'm not able to see somehow. There's a little bit of a problem. Ravi, are you sure? Everybody's on video. I'm sure I can't see all of them, unfortunately.
So, Mr. Imtaz, as of now, it's just Mr. Ashneer and Mr. Aman with you.
Oh,
we're just checking with Mr. Prabhakar as well.
No worries. We'll make it worthwhile. No worries. Okay. So thanks, Ashneer. I think it was interesting. I think very, very different views here, and which makes this discussion very interesting. So for you, it's a tag which is basically giving a lot of bragging rights, but not necessarily giving anything more than that. And maybe it is becoming the next series. I think it's more appropriate, but of course, it also becomes a milestone which you can cherish with your team, because at the end of the day, right, that internal branding, if not among clients, at least among your employees, also becomes very important, and they like that bragging rights that the company I have been working for last 4 years, 5 years has become a unicorn. So maybe that has some value for someone, but someone who has already achieved it, for him it might just have a little bit of a I mean, obviously the value reduces somehow. So great. So again, we see that companies are now growing in this valuation very, very quickly. This means that being a unicorn is obviously not becoming as cherished, is not being cherished as much as it used to be 5 years back, right? When Flipkart became the first unicorn, we all were kind of cheering for them. But obviously, it's not that much anymore. Like every week, there is a new unicorn, right? So, what do you think about this space of becoming unicorn? Do you think this is sustainable? This will continue to be like this, or this has become the norm of the business? Or do you think this is just a phase we are going through where lots of companies are growing in valuation and then it will all settle down and become all the same as it used to be earlier?
Yeah, I'll have a go at that. See, here's the thing. You have to understand what's happened in the last 6 to 12 months, right? Because of COVID, a lot of businesses have seen very accelerated growth in their basic numbers, right? Or whatever KPIs you would track, right? So if you were to talk about us as a business, right? About a year and a half back, I would be doing 1.5 to 2 billion of annualized transactions, right? And there was a natural pace of growth. Come COVID, that went down for a month and went 6x in the next 15 months, right? So from doing $2.5 billion transaction, now we do 12 to 13 billion dollars of transaction, right? Now, of course, the last 6 to 12 months have accelerated all digital businesses. And because all digital businesses have grown at the same time, the overall market has even got bigger impetus, right? So you think of it this way. If commerce grows and then payment grows on back of it, then that payment growth is going to lead to another set of commerce growth, right? So fundamentally in India, what's happened is all digital businesses have started exploding at the same time. And because everyone is growing at the same time, it's growing the pie much bigger, right? And therefore there's a lot of excitement. Now, when that of course, bigger operational numbers should mean higher valuation, right? So there's no denying that, right? But beyond just the growth in the operating numbers, there's also growth in the multiples in the market, right? Which has got nothing to do with what we are doing in India. Right. It's just a matter of fact that capital is available cheaper in the US. A lot of cheap capital in the US could have gone to China. China, for whatever has happened in the 6 months, is not in favor with any investor. And all of that capital is now coming to India, right? So yes, I would say half of what our valuations are today is a function of what we have delivered, right? Irrespective of the market. Half of what the valuations are is what the market is today, right? Now, even if tomorrow, for some, and I think everything is a cycle, right? It's not like secularly we will just keep growing at an insane pace, right? This is a cycle playing out. My view is that even if when the cycle dies down, right, a lot of the valuations will hold true because a lot of companies would have grown their numbers to that thing, right? But if you think a guy who went from 100 million to a billion now, in the next 1 year will go from a billion to 10 billion, then you better be betting on his operating numbers rather than just the multiple expanding a lot more.
So what I understand, if I can rephrase it, so it's basically a multiplication of digitization on one side, increase of digitization, and on the other side, availability of capital, a massive availability of capital. Both of them have kind of created a multiplier effect. So if the market would have grown by, let's say, 50%, let's say it should have grown by 50%, it has actually grown by 50 multiplied by, let's say 10, so 500%, something like that, right?
No, so, I think like if the market would have grown by, let's say 100% because of everyone's numbers being double. Yeah. I think the valuations have become 4 times because the capital has become cheaper at the same point of time, right? So it's two things panning out at the same point of time.
So Ashneet, one more question with you because it's related, and then I go to Aman on some D2C, interesting discussions on D2C side and the unicorn economics out there. So Ashneet, as money is becoming cheaper, it's absolutely very, very visible, the effect of it, be it stock markets, be it any other market, it's all visible right there. Now, another trend that I am seeing is that when you see the Bitcoin and the crypto market, which is also booming like crazy, and somehow these two markets were not having an overlap earlier. Now I see these markets converging. This means you can actually invest in crypto, and that crypto then can be invested in some way in the stock market, and it can have liquidity. And the people who are making money on stock might also be now doing a crossover investment in crypto. So the money, it seems like, because the entire crypto money, which was not considered to be in the mainstream business, now it is actually coming into mainstream business. That is what I can see very clearly. So do you see this will create an excessive amount of liquidity in days to come? Because a lot of crypto billionaires are getting formed. If not billionaires, a lot of millionaires, right? I am talking to people, and I'm getting stories of invested $500, and now मेरे पास 4-5 crore रुपए है, life set है. And lots of stories within India itself, right? So what do you think? What are the implications of that on the valuations in days to come?
Yeah, see, my view on this is we are sitting on the biggest bubble ever, right? It's going to burst very soon. Now you can single out and tell me here, why are you being so bearish? I'm not being bearish, I'm being realistic, right? I've been in business for last 17 years now, right? I've gone through 2 cycles myself. Every time at the peak of the cycle, it seems exactly same euphoria, right? I was doing capital markets when Reliance Power IPO came out.
Yep.
And I've seen how a table and 2 chairs in Ballard Estate was sold for billions of dollars, right? And to me, what's happening now is very parallel to what happened in the past, right? So my personal view is we are sitting probably entering the last phase of the cycle. Something will prick it, and all these stories about as if there's no tomorrow will become more and more rational. The good part is, even when the valuations go away, right, businesses will not go away, right? So a lot of the businesses that you have now, digital businesses, are real businesses, right? Aman runs an extremely profitable business, right, which to me is an enviable position to be in, right? I'm sure Aman will not trade his profitability for a unicorn tag any day, right? And I think that's what I feel is the strength of the market. A lot of us are now becoming much more real businesses, right? Market will go away, and I can tell you 3 months, 6 months. I'm not being an oracle here, but you will see it taper down. As far as concepts like crypto and all are concerned, I don't get it, right? कभी आपको कोई बंदा नहीं मिलेगा जो बोलेगा जी मैंने तो 10 लाख रुपए लगाए थे, मेरे 10 रुपए बच गए, right? Only stories you see or hear are success stories where people will say, देखो मैं तो बहुत smart हूँ, मैंने तो 500 रुपए लगाए और मेरे तो 5 करोड़ रुपए बन गए, right? So I think if you actually take things on an average, things do not outgrow that much, right? It's just that people like to talk about positive things and they brush the negative things under the carpet. So crypto and all, I think I don't get the concept. I don't think the real ETFs, crypto, ये सब bull run के inflationary assets हैं. The good thing is the businesses are real. So even when the inflationary assets go away, I don't think our businesses are going away anywhere.
I think that's the big difference between the era of pets.com and what we are living in today. So I totally agree. So Aman, I mean, coming on the D2C side, right, which is a business with strong unit economics. Is it true you won't trade your valuation for profitability? Ashneer, I think, just took a guess on that.
Ashneer Bhai knows me well now. So, but yeah, so he's it's always a pleasure listening to Ashneer Bhai. So I'll tell you, my point of view is also very similar to what Ashneer Bhai is saying. Markets are, today very, are not valued right, whether whatever industry you are in, right? I am very optimistic on the India story. There's no doubt of that. Even in the D2C side, I'm very optimistic on what will happen. But look at what is happening on the the roll up space on the D2C. Everybody wants to be the next Tharasio of India, right? And look at how they are buying companies, and everybody's buying companies at weird. I had a lot of people in my team, and they are all getting offers from the Me Too Tharasios of India at double their salaries, right? And the companies are getting valued at triple their valuations, right? Because there is a race now. All of them suddenly, there is another race to be the first unicorn Tharasio of India. There is another race happening, right? So there are different races in the different, and in 3 months to 6 months, they just got money to buy different companies. There'll be a lot of it happened. I've been seeing the VC PE market play out in the last 10-15 years. It happened in, when they were health tech was one. सबसे पहले आया था ये आपका e-commerce play, when soft banks and all were also funding very well on a lot of companies, and there's a lot of things happening in this space, and a lot of companies who went down. We all know what happened to a lot of these different companies which got overfunded also. Then it happened in fintech, then it happened in microtech and nanotech, and now D2C is this one place which is happening. The same thing is happening where the valuations are, we are also getting offers which are very vague. We don't believe in, from our side, we don't believe that, as Ashnir Bhai said, that profitability is important. Agar for us, if we reduce our profitability, our sales will go up straight up. But unfortunately, it's the dhanda way of life, the mindset which we have, where माल बिकता है तो पैसे कमाने चाहिए. ये थोड़ा सा mindset, it's a little old school mindset, but that is what how we are, right? So yes, I totally agree with Ashni Bhai again that valuations are all here and there, and things will taper off, and sanity and logics will come soon.
So when you look at the D2C space, of course, it's getting extremely crowded, right? Every other person is coming up with a product which does not need much innovation, right? He will say, "कि हम भी cream बना रहे हैं." Maybe all the 50 D2C companies might be getting the cream manufactured in the same place, right? So when there is no value add, right? Obviously, any value that is put on top of it, do you see the value in the network and the distribution that these companies are creating, or do you see the value in future growing into the product itself? कि product innovation में value होगा कि distribution network में value होगा? What would be the leading part in D2C side?
So Abhishek, I'll take this question differently, right? Even if you look at the P industry, which you guys are a part of, right? What you guys sell? Money, right? Money at valuation. But if you look at the P and the VC space, you all are becoming, known for something. Like, X company is known for very good angel investment list, or at this industry, or deep tech industry, or D2C industry, or fintech industry. So if you look at our industry, D2C, if suppose I am talking about myself, electronics. So I am known for electronics at X price for X value with X features. That is what we are. But D2C में अभी दूसरी electronic company is known for something which is on price. Third company will be known for maybe a luxury electronic brand, maybe a super premium brand. Fourth company will be known for maybe an IoT electronic brand. Same way, if you talk about creams and shampoos, some companies have done very well on showcasing themselves as the plant-based, not the plant-based, vegan, plant-based, or some companies have shown as coffee-based. Some companies are doing very well as, no paraben, chemical-free. So everybody will find their space, is what I feel. The country has just started on D2C. There is so much which we can do. India compared to US is not even started. If you ask me where what D2C is and where D2C will be, you can be differentiated. You can differentiate yourself on distribution. Yes, some people look at marketplaces as the distribution model. Some people look at offline markets as their distribution channel. Some people look at going direct to the consumer through their own website as their distribution channel. And you may own the consumer there. You may own the marketplace consumer. You may own your own consumer, or you may own the offline retailer consumer. Channel will also make a difference. Your niche will also make a difference. Your consumer connect will also make a difference. How the consumer perceives your brand to be. आपको पता है ratings online channel में rating is very important. Rating becomes a very important factor to buy. So as much ratings as you have becomes a source of validation from a lot of consumers like you. That also becomes a moat. Brand becomes a moat. So you have to play your game with the right rules. The rules will keep changing, but play the game.
So, Aman, just a follow-up question. Do you see D2C brands would eventually start listing in India? Because till now, अभी आप कभी भी इन्वेस्ट करते हो D2C के अंदर में, so ultimate जो बात आती है वो ये आती है कि यार ये इसको एक्वायर कौन करेगा? ठीक है, इसको क्या मैरिको एक्वायर करेगा, कि इसको HUL एक्वायर करेगा, कि इसको लैक्मे एक्वायर करेगा? So how do you see this panning out now from here onwards?
See, now again, as a founder, we like to build companies. We, we look at, we don't build a company for an exit. Frankly, we build a company to last. We build a brand to last itself, right? Beyond us also sometimes. It's like something which you've created can last for 100 years also. So when then we get into investor mode. Investor mode mein kya hota hai? Then you have to take investors because you have to grow faster, or take investors for helping you grow better. So when you take investors, you underlying sign on a fiduciary duty to pay their money back. That's a typical question an investor asks. Ki boss, exit method kya hai? So there are a couple of exit methods which were there. First was acquisition, and the second was listing. Correct? ये दो ही मॉडल होते थे पहले विच वर देयर. एक्विजिशन बहुत कॉमन होता था वेस्ट में, इंडिया में भी शुरू हो गया और अच्छे से हो रहा है. मतलब इफ यू लुक एट द लास्ट फ्यू, मैन कंपनी, एंड इफ यू लुक एट बियर्डो, मैन कंपनी गॉट अ स्टेक, हाई स्टेक विद इमामी, राइट? एंड बियर्डो with Beardo also with I don't remember which company was that. Beardo also was there. So हाँ, so पहले ये मॉडल्स होते थे. अभी थर्ड मॉडल आ गया है वेयर these roll up brands like Thrasio, Me Too Thrasios will also acquire you for a X amount. And second, fourth, there is also consolidation happening within startups, right? If you look at today, I was reading somewhere that MyGlam has bought over Mom and Co, right? Which is another startup buying another startup, a small startup. You look at what has happened in the edtech space, same thing has happened. So there will be consolidation on our D2C side also. Whether there is no, it's a very nascent industry in India, 3 to 4 years only D2C. So we don't know whether there will be any a listing happen. Yes, there are companies who are planning to list, etc. I don't know who will be the first one or who will be there, but that is also that is also in the minds of a lot of entrepreneurs. So we are yet to see how Zomato was the first IPO of a digital Indian economy company from a digital first world, right? Same way, there will be some companies maybe in the next couple of years to see the IPO from a D2C brand point of view. Yes, there will be. To answer your question.
So absolutely great. But one small correction I would like to make. In my opinion, doing an IPO is not getting an exit. I think you are actually entering the market because a lot of responsibility get on your head, right? You have now people's money, not investors' money. So investors,
I agree. No, my point. No, you're right, absolutely right. IPO, people say day one. Yes, I also say that. But what I'm saying is that at least the market opens up for us, for the investors to take the money out of the company.
Investors
and maybe the new investors come in. The new investors will not be the private market, but it will be the public market investors. So yes, IPO is never an exit. What I meant was that you keep on rolling into that system where you take investors, then either you buy them out, which normally doesn't happen. Then you have to either get acquired or do a listing for them to free up their space, or you keep taking investments from private markets. That's the game.
Sure. So, Ashneet bhai, a question for you. I have heard a lot of my investor friends talk about it, that the value of the company is high till the potential is undiscovered. जब तक छुपा है, ढका है, तब तक उसकी वैल्यूएशन ऊंची होती है, क्योंकि हमें पता नहीं हो कितना कमा सकता है. और जब वो कमाना शुरू कर देता है तो फिर रियल वैल्यूएशन पता चलती है. एंड वी हैव, आई थिंक, प्रैक्टिकली सीन इट हैपन एवरीवेयर. So what are your views on that? Do you think this whole approach is something which, obviously this approach has been visible more with the startup ecosystem? इसके पहले जब पुराने स्टॉक मार्केट में जब काम होता था, उस टाइम पे ये सब नहीं होता था. तो आज के दिन में जो आया है evolution, is this a cycle which has grown up and then will eventually go down, or do you think this will become the way the world works in future?
No, I think, see, end of the day, the valuation is given by the investors, right?
Yeah.
तो इन्वेस्टर ही बोलेंगे कि यार प्राइवेट मार्केट की वैल्यूएशन ज्यादा और पब्लिक मार्केट में कम हो जाती है, तो मत दो. किसी ने बंदूक रख के तो आपसे पैसे नहीं लिए लगवाए ना. तो मेरे को ये लगता है, see, eventually a lot of businesses sometimes get funded on option value. कि कुछ तो कर लेगा बड़ा, पहले इसको स्केल कर लेते हैं, फिर देखेंगे पैसे कैसे बनेंगे, राइट?
Right.
Now, those kind of businesses, of course, they could be in for a rude shock, because जब पता लगा बड़ा होने के बाद कि पैसे बन ही नहीं रहे, तो फिर तो of course तुम्हारी valuation is going to be much slower when you go and take the company public, right? But if there are solid businesses where you know from day one how the money is going to be made and you can track it, and therefore you can be very, very systemic in valuing the company while it is private, then why should you be in for a shock, right? The classic case in point is, Zomato. Right? Look at it. When it was a private company, the day it went public, it went twice in valuation, right? Now, the reason for that is people understand, ठीक है, पर ऑर्डर इतना एवरेज टिकट साइज आता है, इतना कमीशन बनता है, इतना कॉस्ट है, कॉस्ट कम होता रहेगा, एवरेज टिकट साइज बढ़ता रहेगा, तो ये पैसे बना लेंगे, ठीक है. नाउ इफ यू टेक सम अदर बिजनेस व्हिच इज इनहेरेंटली नेगेटिव कंट्रीब्यूशन मार्जिन एंड टेक इट पब्लिक, तो ऑफ कोर्स उसकी वैल्यूएशन नीचे होगी, बिकॉज लोग बोलेंगे जितना बिजनेस बढ़ रहा है उतना मेरा नुकसान होता हो जा रहा हो, राइट? सो आई डोंट बिलीव इन दैट. आई थिंक, सी, इन्वेस्टर क्या होता है, इन्वेस्टर ही वैल्यूएशन लगा रहा है ना, मार्केट क्या है, इन्वेस्टर ही है ना. So the valuation being given by the investor. He has to be mindful. He has to be he has to figure out what is real value, what is not real value, and what he's putting as a number, whether it's justifiable or not, both among his community of private investors and eventually in the public market where he has to get his exit. का उसूल क्या है? सस्ते में खरीदो, महंगे में बेचो. अगर आपको पता है कि मेरे बाद में सस्ते में बिकना है, तो आप आज महंगे में क्यों खरीद रहे हो यार? ठीक बात है.
नहीं, लोग तो यही आशा करके खरीदते हैं कि भाई आज हम महंगे में खरीद रहे हैं बिकॉज अभी ये प्रॉफिटेबल नहीं है, अभी पता नहीं इसमें क्या क्या होना है, शायद बहुत कुछ होगा.
होप इज नॉट अ स्ट्रेटजी, नो,
बट इट लुक्स लाइक दैट इज शेपिंग अप एज अ स्ट्रेटजी फॉर मेनी इन्वेस्टर्स बिकॉज
so देखो, सिंपल सी बात है, there'll be people who will raise a fund, deploy money, die, right? कोई इनको देखेगा भी नहीं, वो बहुत सारे पैसे उड़ जाएंगे, right? And there'll be funds who will be across there for 20, 25, 30 years, right? And I think the difference between the two is the one who knows when to say no. Saying कि बॉस अभी बेवकूफी हो रही है, मेरे को नहीं खेलना, मैं बैठा हूँ, मार्केट ठीक होने दो, right? अभी आपका धंधा क्या है? Your business as an investor is making a return on investment. Your business is not disbursing capital.
True.
But you should have the wherewithal to say, नहीं, मेरे को नहीं लगाना यार, मैं बैठा हूँ, मेरे को ही नहीं, मैं 6 महीने कोई डील नहीं करूंगा, बट क्योंकि मार्केट खराब है, राइट? बट उतना कन्विक्शन तो होना चाहिए ना. अगर आप फोमो ड्रिवन हो, आपको लग रहा है अरे नहीं, ये इसने 50 डील कर दी 6 महीने में, मैंने तो 30 ही डील करी, तो बॉस फिर आप डील के पीछे भाग रहे हो, आप वैल्यूएशन, आप रिटर्न के पीछे थोड़ा ना भाग रहे हो, फिर आपको आउटकम भी वैसे ही मिलेगा.
So, the path to profitability, I think, is becoming a very key word when we are talking about startups going into the stock market, right? तो अब startup stock market में जाएगा तो profitability अभी तो है नहीं मैक्सिमम कंपनीज की, कई की है, कई की नहीं है. तो अभी बातचीत शुरू हो गई कि भाई path to profitability अगर दिखती है तो स्टॉक मार्केट में जाना चाहिए, ठीक है? और मेरे ख्याल से सही है, अगर path to profitability दिखती है तो स्टॉक मार्केट में जाने में कोई हर्ज नहीं है. इसका मतलब ये स्टॉक मार्केट में जो कंपनीज जाएगी फ्रॉम द स्टार्टअप इकोसिस्टम, लॉट ऑफ देम विल कंटिन्यू टू ब्लीड मनी फॉर सर्टेन टाइम. So will it fundamentally change the characteristic of the stock market in days to come? Just want to understand your views. Maybe I mean both of you. कि क्या लग रहा है आपको कि स्टॉक मार्केट में जब लॉस मेकिंग कंपनीज जाएगी, जिसको सब समझ नहीं होगी, क्योंकि जो आम जनता है उसको इतनी समझ नहीं आती है, तो अगर वो लॉस मेकिंग कंपनी को एक्सेप्ट करना शुरू कर देगी बिकॉज ऑफ देयर ब्रांड एंड व्हाट पीपल टेल अबाउट द बिजनेस मॉडल ऑफ दैट कंपनी, राइट? वेयर डू यू सी दिस होल स्टॉक मार्केट थिंग हेडिंग टुवर्ड्स इवेंचुअली?
See, whether you want to go to the stock market or not is your own call again, ठीक है? मतलब मैं मान रहा हूँ कि आपको 7 साल या 10 साल के बीच का तो टाइम तो मिलता ही है ना, कि आपको डिसाइड करो आप कब आईपीओ करना है, राइट? मेरे को ये लगता है कि अगर आपका यूनिट इकोनॉमिक्स सही है, आपको पता है कि मैं हर यूनिट पे पैसे नहीं खो रहा हूँ, बट आपकी फिक्स कॉस्ट हाई है, जो भी टेक एंड प्रोडक्ट कॉस्ट हाई है, एंड अगर आपके पास एक क्लियर पाथ है कि हाँ मेरी वॉल्यूम यहाँ से यहाँ पहुंच जाएगी, मेरा कंट्रीब्यूशन मार्जिन मेरी फिक्स कॉस्ट को कवर कर लेगा, ठीक है, तब तो आप कोई एनालिस्ट भी आपकी बात मान लेगा, ठीक है? तो मेरे को लगता है उतना तो होना ही चाहिए. बट अगर आप एनालिस्ट को बोल रहे हो नहीं कंट्रीब्यूशन मार्जिन की बात मत करें यार, हम कुछ बहुत बड़ा बना रहे हैं, कंट्रीब्यूशन मार्जिन के बियॉन्ड हम कुछ बना रहे हैं, तो फिर तुम फेंक रहे हो, फिर तो ना वो एनालिस्ट को चमकेगा ना इन्वेस्टर को चमकेगा नीचे, ठीक है.
Absolutely.
Now the only thing is historically stock markets have worked in a concept where the credibility was established by having profit, and
Yeah.
then someone would buy the promise saying कि हाँ ठीक है, इस लाला ने धंधा चलाया, इस लाला ने धंधा प्रॉफिटेबली चलाया और ये आगे भी बढ़ा देगा. आज की डेट में वो क्रेडिबिलिटी फ्रॉम प्रॉफिट की जगह क्रेडिबिलिटी फ्रॉम इन्वेस्टर आ गई है.
Right.
कि अरे अभी प्रॉफिटेबल नहीं है, बट इसमें इस इन्वेस्टर ने इन्वेस्ट करा है और इतने पीरियड से इन्वेस्टेड है, इतना पैसा डाला है, तो समवेयर इन द फ्यूचर पैसे बना देगा. सो एसेंशियली जो क्रेडिबिलिटी आप प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी डिलीवर करके अर्न करते थे मार्केट में, आज की डेट में वो राइट सेट ऑफ इन्वेस्टर्स मिलके आपको मिल जाती है. बट फ्यूचर में तो तब भी सेम ही चीज खरीद रहा है ना वो इंसान.
बिल्कुल.
फ्यूचर में तो प्रॉफिट ही खरीद रहा है ना, वो चेंज नहीं हुआ है.
बिल्कुल. So अमन, डोंट यू थिंक कि यार ये मतलब लॉन्ग टर्म में फ्रॉड के लिए भी काफी ऑप्शन ओपन हो जा रहे हैं, क्योंकि अब क्या है कि एक इन्वेस्टर के ऊपर लोग दांव खेल रहे हैं. पहले कंपनी की प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी और बैलेंस शीट पे दांव खेलते थे. अब जब इन्वेस्टर पे दांव खेलेंगे तो बहुत ऐसे लोग भी आएंगे जो कि मैनिपुलेट करेंगे और बड़े स्केल पे. सो आपको क्या लगता है कि इवेंचुअली जो पब्लिक मार्केट है, how will that react when all these unicorns eventually go to the public market, because many of them has the potential to go there?
अगेन मेरा भी यही व्यू है जो अश्नीर भाई का था. मेरे को ये लगता है कि पब्लिक सब जानती है, नो, पब्लिक को सब पता है. आप उसको अगर पब्लिक को नहीं पता होता तो जोमेटो, अगर इन्वेस्टर्स को सब पता होता तो जोमेटो डेवलप नहीं होती, करेक्ट. अगर पब्लिक को पता है, even if you look at the US market, Amazon was not profitable for many years, but look at the profitability today, look at the valuation today, look at Facebook, look at the companies in the West which have proved this business model. In India, this model is being proved as we speak, right? Zomato is the first one which proved that, and there'll be a lot of companies which will prove it, right? The entrepreneurs who are building such loss-making companies are not making companies for loss. They are smart people who know their business well, who know that these companies can turn into a profit after X level or Y years, or with X happening or Y happening. That is why smarter people like investors who have also invested in them, and they are smart, and the smartest of them, public, will also invest in them, looking at their story. There will be profitable startups also which will go for an IPO. There will be loss-making startups which will also go for an IPO. The reason why, and SEBI is also there to look at interests of the shareholders. They have allowed this to happen based on the fact that it has happened in the West and it can happen in India also. The market is changing and the consumers are changing. Today, if you ask me, I would buy a Zomato stock right away also if I want to, because I know that I am buying more from Zomato than even from, say, an Amazon, because I order maybe twice a day from Zomato, but maybe once a week from Amazon. So and it's the relatability to Zomato that they will do something. Look at their consumer behavior, look at their Instagram, look at the way their social media channels work, look at the consumer traction Zomato has. It is different from any other company in the country today. They know their consumer well. The consumers know them well. That is what matters.
So, Aman sir, I mean, coming towards the end of our session, like just two very short questions from both of you. One is, which unicorn among the current ones do you admire the most and why?
So for me, as Shnir Bhai said, apart from Bharat Pay, I like Zomato a lot. And I think they have done a good job. And even Zomato and Swiggy for that matter. I think their habit is changing. Today, I don't care about carrying that file which I used to maintain for ordering for my food, or ordering only from those 5 restaurants. Today, the whole Delhi, there is a restaurant in Pandara Road which I love, and I can order from that directly to my house, which I never used to earlier. I used to send, we had to go there and wait for an hour to get the delivery from that restaurant. So I think those are for me, food tech, Zomato, Swiggy. I would love, and frankly speaking, if you ask me, even if they raise their commission from 20 rupees to 100 rupees, I will still have to buy from Zomato and Swiggy, because they are who they are today. They run that market, right? Even if the commission from I don't know how much commission they take or what their business model, even if they take 5% or 50%, there will be some restaurants which will be ready to give them that commission, because that is how their business model is being run, as restaurants which are cloud kitchens or whatever. So I have a very big, bias towards Zomato and Swiggy in that manner.
Ashneer bhai,
Apart from Bharat Pay, please let me correct.
no, no, I know, but Ashneer bhai, I cannot say that, boat is my favorite unicorn because you're not yet there. So Ashneer bhai, which one is your favorite unicorn?
Unicorn तो नहीं पता. I think like among the better businesses I see around, I like Nykaa.
Nykaa. Okay.
Yeah, because
What makes it special for you?
Yeah, Falguni is my ex-boss, so I have a soft corner. But I think more importantly, see the amount of they've created a new category, right under the nose of Amazon and Flipkart. Extremely high margin, high ticket size, and profitable, right? So that really, and they've not raised that kind of money at all, right? If you look at the primary money they have raised, it's very, very less. So it's a very genuine business which has been built, right, over time. I think the other business I have a lot of respect for is delivery, right? Again, not your consumer-facing business, so it doesn't get that kind of excitement. But if you look at fundamentally, the bigger the network keeps growing, right, the more the business keeps becoming profitable, right? So among the and these two names because they're also going IPO very soon, right? So they come up to my mind, but I think these two businesses I really look up to.
Okay. So another thing is like, I think both of you definitely do some angel investing at your own level, isn't it? So are you still investing in this euphoria, or you are sitting on the side?
No, I'm still investing, but I'm evaluating my pace of investment now. Saying, you see, in any case, I don't give into FOMO, right? Like, if 10 people are investing, it doesn't mean I'm going to jump into it and invest. And it's even the converse is true. Like, if no one is investing, I might sometime go and invest. So my investment decisions are more driven by me, and therefore, hopefully, not FOMO driven, and don't end up with the market ending there.
Wonderful. That's a great discipline to have. What about you, Aman bhai?
So unfortunately, I'm not as disciplined as Ashneer bhai yet, but I want to be. I have, the pace of investment in the industry which I know of, and in the companies which I feel will do well, will keep on I'll keep on doing that. For me, it's about, I've allocated a part of my corpus as angel investment fund, and some of them initially I did are doing very well. So that corpus is going up as we speak, and I've also already started making money from the first one. So that corpus is going up, and I will keep investing as much as I can from that. But I'll probably learn some discipline from people around me, including Ashneer bhai.
I mean, again, just before we conclude, any final remarks that you want to make that you have not made during last 40-45 minutes?
Yeah, I would say that, build a good business, leave for all the entrepreneurs around here that stop thinking unicorn, non-unicorn, stop thinking valuation, stop thinking investors, just keep doing the right things, and everything else will follow.
Wonderful, wonderful. Ashneer bhai, any final comments?
Well, I think it's important to create value over the long term, right? Like कोई रेस छोड़ना है कि यार मैं 2 साल में कितने पैसे कमा लिए, right? The key is, are you still in the money 10-15 years down the line, right? So I think build a business which outlasts your prime, right? Because if you're all, at least I'm entering 40s pretty soon, right? And if you're in that age, you have to understand next 10 years is your prime of your career, right? After that, you will not be at the top of your game, right? But if you build a business which becomes bigger and bigger once you have capped out, right, then you have created something which is really valuable, right? So don't be in a race to get to some fancy number today, which has no meaning for either you, your family, or for your employees. But build a business which outlasts your prime.
Sure, Ashneer. Thank you so much. I think this was a wonderful session. बात करके बहुत बहुत मजा आया. I think we started with Mr. Ashneer and Mr. Aman, and we ended up with Ashneer bhai and Aman bhai. So I think that shows, we had good bonding, we had good time. I hope you enjoyed it too. And thanks for letting a bootstrapped entrepreneur interview both of you stalwarts who are building solid venture funded companies which are growing at rapid pace. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Mr.
We
Sneed.
enjoyed.
Thank you, Mr. Aman. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Rumda,
you.
for that wonderful session. Going forward, we'll have Mr. Ram Mohan Mishra, Chairman, Meghalaya State Investment Board, joining us in a while for his presentation on the Meghalaya state government.
Namaskar, Mr. Saab.
Namaste, namaste.
Good to see you after a long time. COVID has kept us apart. So, in fact, very happy to see, Meghalaya government on board for this meaningful program. We had 1,000, registrations, 300 startups are pitching, 8 partner states and 4 countries. So now my colleague, Mr. Nair, who heads our Western region from Mumbai, he will take things forward with you. Mr. Nair.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Banerjee. Great. So we have with us Mr. Ram Manohar Mishra, Chairman, Meghalaya State Investment Promotion Board. Mr. Mishra works on comprehensive policy making for the SME sector in India. He has over 30 years of experience as an Indian Administrative Service Officer, having worked in the field of general administration, mines and minerals, program implementation, planning, banking and institutional finance, revenue, environment and forest, water resources, commerce and industry, personal management, home affairs, land revenue, etc. He is a law graduate, master's in geography, and has studied public finance at Maxwell School of Syracuse University. He has been CEO of a government company working for promoting and facilitating inclusive growth, entrepreneurship development, climate change, adaptation, and sustainable development. Over to you, Mr. Mishra.
Thank you, Mr. Nair. It's a privilege to be part of this August gathering. And my experience with the chamber in previous times also has been very, very fruitful, very delightful. So thank you very much for this invite to me. And then this subject which you have brought up is of immense importance because until as we become aware of the humongous possibilities we holding in our nation for growth and development, the entrepreneurs they don't pick up the right kind of threads. Now, briefly, I'll delve into the national kind of framework and scenario, and then I'll touch upon what we are doing in Meghalaya. Now, at the national level, as you see, in fact, in my time when I was DCM SME, the experience I had of enterprise development ecosystem, it was basically leaning on a comprehensive approach of building an ecosystem, which inter alia would mean addressing the issues of information asymmetry, wherever they may be, then skilling, then promoting innovation, that is knowledge economy, and from there take the issue of technology facilitation, technology development, supporting technology aspects of the technology development and then also technology in the enterprises. So both are separate opportunities. One is when we talk about technology development, it is business by itself. And then we apply technology to businesses, that is another dimension of it. So that was one more area which was very prominent and important area. And then comes the issue of finance. Now, when we come to finance, particularly in Northeast, we all know that it has been quite a bit of challenge because of variety of reasons. And this is one core issue in Meghalaya we have taken up as a core issue for addressing because as we all know, finance is like fuel in any motor vehicle. So until unless that is delivered, then not much can be done thereafter. Post finance, then there are issues of infrastructure, logistics. We all know that many time enterprises are not able to grow because the very cost of logistics is so high that the competitiveness is zero. And then come to the issue of market access, which is the issues of packaging, the design, and then market intelligence, and those partnerships, and then joint ventures, and then issues of export. And one very important aspect, which many times we miss, is the issues related to governance, compliances. What is the nature of compliances? And then whether there is facilitation, enough facilitation for compliances to be put in place. So these are the broadly seven verticals, seven aspects which need to be put in place, which need to be there, not exactly put in place because mostly these are market driven. But wherever there are gaps, where there are constraints or difficulties, the government comes forward and does necessary facilitation to fill those gaps. Now we all know Northeast by way nature. There
Mr. Mishra is having a slight technical issue. We'll be back in a minute.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is some technical glitch at Mr. Mishra's end. He is logging in 30 seconds. So kindly bear with us. Yes, Mr. Mishra, you have to switch on your mic and your video. Yes.
Is it visible now?
Yeah, you are visible, and there was some technical glitch maybe at your end. So kindly continue.
Was it at my end? I thought I switched on the video
No,
earlier
no, no,
also.
no, no. Our end, all of us are there. All the audiences are also there. So we announced. Ab bataiye.
Okay. So all right. So this technical problem was, I think, all over. No? Okay. I thought it is only on my side. I did not operate. So all right. So Mr. Banerjee, I think we can we begin the session now.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Please take it forward.
All right. Thank you. So at the outset, my gratitude for this opportunity. It's always to associate with your chamber, and particularly this today's theme is very important for us as a nation. And talking about Northeast, we also, along with the national mainstream, we are also taking certain measures which will go a long way in terms of improving our investment ecosystem. As I was mentioning earlier, at the national level, we all are aware that for startups, the support for the startup for building that overall enterprise ecosystem, a slew of measures have been taken. And these basically, we can segment them into 7, 8 buckets. One is there has been effort made to remove the information asymmetries and the knowledge, because as we say in our shastras also has been said, ya vidya sa vimukte. So knowledge is the first step, because if I don't even come to know about the opportunities which are there, then the journey doesn't begin. And if I know only about the opportunity, I am not aware of the constraints and the threats I'm likely to face, then knowledge also remains incomplete. So this is one first fundamental milestone which we together as an entrepreneurial community, as a chamber, as a nation. So the efforts already on. This conference is a very important step in that direction. So this is one. Once the knowledge process has gone through, the second most important part has been skilling. Skills which are required for. So managerial skills are one part, but when we do the business in terms of promoting a startup or trying to grow it, leadership capabilities are even more important. And as we all know, the leadership is management part is there, but management of mismanagement also is included. So management plus management of mismanagement becomes leadership. Business leadership is both the components. So this chambers are the best equipped to impart the second part, because first one can be read in a book, but the second one comes through experience. And then this is where the conferences like this, and then when I was in the industry ministry, and then even otherwise, some very wonderful work all of you have done on the chamber side in terms of creating this awareness about that entire sort of business. What are the strengths in a situation? What are the opportunities? What are the weaknesses? What are the threats? This entire thing has to be known for a business to grow and even survive. And so this is first part. The second part is uh, the technology part, the innovation part, and the technology flows from the science. So knowledge into action leads to technology. This again, there's so much work is happening in the country, and then we all know that in the innovation front through Niti Aayog, through startup program of BPIT, a lot of initiatives are already in place, and then through the private sector, a lot of work has happened. I'm aware. Through the innovation foundation, a lot of work. So and much more is needed to be done. So this is one bucket: knowledge, skills. Now only and only when this is there, we should talk about finance. Many times the mistake we commit is when we talk about enterprise, we say go to bank and then get the loan sanction. And the many time it is like building the first floor without having the ground floor or the basement. And many problems occur because of that. So financial inclusion part, when it comes after knowledge of the entire thing, and at this juncture, one particular thing which is important, and then in Meghalaya we have put up that structure, and then that facilitation and handholding. And again, this is somebody who is a practitioner. It is important to be handled by somebody who is a practitioner, not just reading handouts and books and going to a portal. So this is now coming to finance, particularly talking about Northeast. So what happens is that the perception of the bankers many times the risk is very high, and that's why there is sometimes reluctance to give away the loans. And this is where we are now making some effort to introduce financial services products which are hybrid in nature. So there is loan component, debt is there, but also we bring in some risk capital, so that the risk of the banker in terms of giving that loan can be reduced. And for startups, this is a very important product, because until unless the risk capital is there, they don't even have sufficient margin money. And this is where some funds have come up, like say MSME had announced that 10,000 crores. When I was there, I remember, in fact, that 10,000 crores fund of funds was announced. Apart from that, there are some other funds. There's private equities available. So this is an important dimension. And coupled with this is another issue of guarantees. The CGT MSC has been given some guarantees, but then some more products are needed. And even the products in terms of counter guarantees are needed. Just like go to World Bank space, IFC space, they have something known as MEGA. So this is important for us to make sure that the risk is hedged where it is optically seen more, and then the
So Mr. Mishra again has faced some technical issues, ladies and gentlemen. He will log in 30 seconds. I just spoke to him.
okay, Mr. Banerjee, is it audible?
Absolutely audible.
I'm so sorry, in fact. So I don't know the problem on our side. Or, anyway, it's a common problem. I guess we as a team are going through it. I'm so thankful.
These are the banes of technology. Your words are booms of technology, but the actual glitch on the ground is banes of technology. Please carry on, sir.
That's why I flagged that upfront. I said, apart from knowledge, the technology has to improve for anything worthwhile to happen. So these two, after we have taken care of these two pillars, then the infrastructure and logistics is an important. We all know that the cost of logistics many times it erodes the competitiveness, and that is one more issue. A lot of work has happened on the roads in the country, but this in the far-flung areas like say Meghalaya and other northeastern states, and mountainous regions. This multimodal transportation network is important. Say, for example, say a group of farmers are there in a valley and they have certain products to be sent to market. So road is there, but it is up there on the plateau, which is 3 kilometers of this goods being carried on the headloom. Now it becomes very, very prohibitive for people to get integrated to the markets from there. Then we have inland waterways, then ropeways are needed. So multimodal transport networks, to some extent they are there, but lot more work we need to do in that regard. Second issue, which is also important, is last mile connectivity, especially when we talk about rural enterprises, the growth in the rural space for its own sake, and also feeding into the urban space, because rural hinterlands feed into the industrial space. So the last mile connectivity, many times 1 kilometer is left, 1.5 kilometers is left. So this is one more area, there's a lot more work needed to be done. And then the core issue comes, the fourth one comes around markets. The market intelligence is important, and particularly if the small enterprises have to be bunched, have to be aggregated. The market intelligence is one of the core issues faced by the people. And this was chambers. I'm happy to see that chambers are playing a very key role and a very friendly role in terms of disseminating necessary information about market opportunities. Lot more partnerships are possible, and then we on our side are doing a lot more work in terms of developing partnerships, joint ventures, and things like that. The last thing what I like to flag is issues of governance, these compliances. The income tax is there, then GST is there. Then, so the facilitation of the compliances is another very, very important area, which is required for enterprises to be promoted and after that to grow and even survive, I would say. Looking at the national space, we are aware that there's a lot of government initiatives have been taken recently through banks and then also through ministries, and a lot of private sector appetite is already there. However, moving on, that the facilitation part at the district and block, I would say, is the very critical need of the hour, where there's a lot of rural enterprise possibilities are there, where these unicorns which we are discussing, unicorns, if they're well fed by the hinterlands through the value chain integration, then they grow faster and their survival chances also more. They become far more sustainable because those economies of scale will come when these the integration possibilities have fructified with the hinterland. And is it still audible, Mr. Manager?
Yeah,
Yes,
you're
sir.
audible completely.
Okay. So
in fact, we have some questions also after you speak. People from Shillong, they have asked, so we'll raise those with you.
Okay. So in fact, now maybe the time must be getting up, so I'll just quickly wind up my talks. Then I'll respond to what your question is. So moving on, in fact, particularly in the context of Meghalaya, I would like to just share with you that we have set up a very elaborate and robust system of enterprise facilitation. In each of our blocks, we had set up these enterprise facilitation centers. We have launched a program called Prime, which is squarely focused on nurturing startups. We in the government have brought out a policy, startup policy, and also clear strategy. So budgetary provisions have been made from our side. And then we have the help from multilateral institutions also, say Asian Development Bank and then World Bank. The more we are working. In this regard, I would also like to share with you one more very important aspect of enterprise growth. That is, we all know that this agenda of Act East, under the Act East policy, is very important for the nation. And one way of looking at it has been through this eastern border. And so of late, what we are articulating is that looking at east through south, and this is where we are now taking slew of measures to streamline the logistics and infrastructure along the southern border. And we also now working very, very actively on a kind of geographical block called Eastern South Asia. When we talk about Eastern South Asia, it is Nepal, Bhutan, Arunachal, and all other states, Assam, and the other northeastern states, Myanmar, and Bangladesh. So there, if you look at the geography of it, Meghalaya becomes the center. And the corridors which are happening from Bhutan uh, to Chittagong port, these corridors are passing through Meghalaya. So this is where we are now in the process of uh, taking definite measures for short-term issues to be resolved, medium-term and long-term investments to upscale and upgrade the infrastructure all around, so that the cost of logistics is far more competitive in our case. One more effort which is on is to further improve substantially the digital framework. And this is where this connect with Cox Bazar. We are looking at as a possibility, Bangladesh, so that the data availability in Shillong particularly, and via Shillong to Guwahati, and then also uh, other areas wherever there is a demand, becomes a kind of possibility. So this is on the infrastructure side. The water resource has a key input of enterprise. We have taken several measures, and then the one special project for small and multipurpose reservoirs is in the offing, where water availability will be bolstered across the state very, very significantly in the days to come. We had a very successful aquaculture mission launched. So a lot of small water bodies have come with fisheries as a possibility. We also made some humble efforts in terms of these essential oils, aroma crops, particularly vetiver. And I'm very proud to share this with you. Our farmers, they have excellent work in many pockets of the states, and the private sector enterprises have come on their own with just little infrastructure and logistic support from the government. Just only in terms of processing unit. Rest is all by farmers actually. Some of you I will invite, you should come and visit their success story. Wonderful work they have done in terms of extracting these oils and then selling it in the market. Apart from this, we also yesterday only I had a very detailed discussion on bamboo as a possibility, bamboo mission in the state, where there is a lot of scope for handicraft oriented bamboo, then particularly industrial bamboo. And along with bamboo, there are a lot of other opportunities in terms of uh, economic forestry of other timber varieties. Tourism, we are so privileged that wherever we land into Meghalaya, it's a tourist spot. So there are several measures which have been taken in terms of policy, strategy, and investment in the tourism space. We are also looking at the possibility of upgrading our educational facilities and wellness facilities, so that uh, our the traditional wisdom in terms of say go to Kasi, then we have some wonderful bone therapy measures that we are trying to see if we can integrate that with the wellness concept, and so that some solutions which are unique to us, they are mainstreamed and then integrated with the market space. So this way, what our approach is to put in place a comprehensive ecosystem for facilitating the incubation, sustenance, growth of enterprises across sectors. And for this, we are linking all this with the Sustainable Development Goals 2030. Uh, I also would like to share with you in the climate space, our people, our institutions have done some very, very pioneering work in terms of climate change adaptation and then carbon sink kind of that system. So overall, in terms of agribusinesses or horticulture or food processing, tourism, mineral industry, and so forth, there are lot of things which are already happening. A lot more we have up our sleeves, where we should be able to welcome those of you who are interested in working in partnership with our people, our entrepreneurs from within the state, and so that we can make our due contribution to the growth and development of our great nation. So this in brief, I thought I'll share with you. Then if there are any questions, I
Yeah, we'll take one question. There are many which has come. So one person from Shillong is writing that how long does it take for the government to take care if a startup applies for any kind of funding or any scheme? What is the turnaround time?
This data, actually, I returned to state very recently. I was in government. Yeah. So this data I
Yes.
don't hold, but then the questioner, you can please take down his contact
Yeah,
details
we
and we
have,
get
so
back.
we can, yes, we will. But
We'll get
good
back.
to hear that every block has got a entrepreneurship
Yes.
development cell. See, we have
Yes.
been working with all the provinces of the country and nowhere we have seen this. So this is very unique to your state. So I think,
Yes.
there is a lot of opportunity for other state governments who are into difficult terrain to also consider imbibing or replicating the same kind of a model. This is, I think, the only state in the country where every block is having an entrepreneurship development center, which is, more micro in than the DICs.
Yes.
So this is very
And
heartening to note.
as I was telling initially, in our system, we work very, very actively on removing the information asymmetry and then the exposure with it. Because seeing is believing. And I'm happy to share with you when I was district collector in Riboy way back in 1995. If I had started a program where I used to book a train bogie and put two mentors there with a guitar and then 70 of our youth. And I used to send them to other areas of the country, Chhattisgarh and then Andhra Pradesh and all that. I used to meet them when they used to go, and I used to again meet them when they used to return over a cup of tea. And their faces used to radiate much better than when they used to return from there. So this is another good initiative actually, which can be replicated.
Absolutely, this is all about knowledge sharing across provinces. Thank you, Mr. Mishra, for coming and speaking, spending your time. We are extremely grateful to Meghalaya government for supporting this program. So over to you, Mr. Nair.
Thank you. We have with us Dr. Rajiv Singh, Director General, Indian Chamber of Commerce. Sir, over to you for a vote of thanks to the Minister.
So, thank you. Thank you. First of all, I am personally very happy to see Mr. Ram Mohan Mishra. And Meghalaya as a state, ICC works very, very closely. And I will not hesitate in mentioning that Meghalaya has many firsts, whether that is supporting the horticulture sector based enterprises in the state, whether it is about skilling, whether it is about experimenting new things with the sector of tourism. I think Meghalaya, in many ways, in many sectors and spheres, has become a role model with very unique initiatives exist. And ICC is truly happy to be a partner, and uh, we cherish our partnership with the government of Meghalaya. With this, I would like to thank Mr. Ram Mohan Mishra for his kind address and also for the partnership uh, from the government of Meghalaya. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ram Mohan Mishra, for that wonderful session. I think we look forward to a long working journey with you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Moving forward, we'll have our partners from Russia, Business Russia, who will be joining in any moment now for a presentation or for a country presentation on what are their steps in building the startup ecosystem across the countries. Good evening, Ms. Olga.
Yes, good evening. Can you hear me? I have
yes.
some here. Let me close. Okay. So everything is fine. Yes, my colleagues will be joining in about maybe 3-4 minutes. They're just finishing up with another Zoom. Okay, I can start if it is time.
Sure. It's time, so I think we could probably just start with your present. You have anything to present?
No, I will do myself. I prefer like this.
Great. So let me introduce Ms. Olga Kulikova, Business Ambassador to India Business Russia. Ms. Kulikova heads the Russia-India Business Council, which assists Russian companies in exploring the Indian market. She has more than 10 years of experience in import or export operations, 5 years in ONGC, the Russian branch. Please, you may please continue.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak at this event. I would like to thank very much the hosts, and I look forward to cooperating with our cooperation. So, as it was mentioned, Business Russia is an all-Russian business organization that actually includes more than 7,000 businesses from all over Russia, and it has its offices in all parts of Russia. So we have 89 regions, and everywhere there we have our departments. So it's been our main target to make the connection between Russia and India, to make companies work together. So for this reason, it was created such institute as a business ambassador. So, and right now we are trying to increase its role in making the in meeting the aims of and achieving the goals that were set by our leaders. So if you probably know, it is achieving about $30 billion in turnover by 2025. So right now, I think it's a right time to make the first step, somehow to put a first brick in building these relations. So as per the perspectives that are in place, I think that from startup point of view, Russia is potentially a very interesting market. So apart from the fact that we have a large territory, of course, a lot of people interested in cooperating with India. Still, I think that this field is still to be explored, and there are a lot of opportunities. Right now, the government of Russian Federation gives us a lot of opportunities for developing this particular market. My colleagues who will be joining maybe in a few minutes will tell you more in details about these opportunities. So it has both special governmental programs. It has different programs for the development in each region. Also, it has special programs with a tax-wise expertise in different, let's say, governmental companies. So, as you know, there are a lot of startups who now look in Russia, who now look for the opportunities in the Indian market. Somehow India is a number one. I think it is right now a number one partner for our companies because of the market and the opportunity that it gives. And in this respect, I consider that the synergy that can rise out of cooperation between Indian and Russian companies can be of significant value. So from my perspective, I can assure you that Business Russia will do its best in meeting the needs of Indian companies in Russia as well as Russian companies in India. And I believe that our cooperation can bring a lot of value for the development of startup ecosystem. So also, I would say that one of our main roles, it's not only about representing companies that are within Business Russia ecosystem, but also our target is to find a right partner for you, to find the right company, whether it is an investor or the company that can be a facilitator for you in Russia. So these variants are all explorable. They are possible, and we will be absolutely happy to help you in this changing reality with a very dynamic movements towards the cooperation. So why I'm telling about cooperation? Because from my point of view, I think it is it will be the core point of our future development. So yes, definitely the world has become global, is coming global. I'll correct myself, but still, I believe that Russian and Indians, they have a lot of similarities in common. Thus, it can help them to use the synergy in winning the rest of the world and becoming very close partners. So in this respect, I believe that right now is the time when Indian and Russian cooperation is at its best, because our leaders have a lot of in common, and annually they're meeting each other for setting up new goals for the next year. So hopefully by end of this year, there will be the Russian-Indian summit, and I hope and I really look forward for the new announcements in respect of different businesses and expansion of India-Russia cooperation. So today I would like to introduce two of my colleagues. They are members of Business Russia, and they are actually the ones who are in charge of startup ecosystem in Business Russia. And right now they are very much aware of what's happening in the country and what are the opportunities in the development of, for example, your companies in Russia. So one of them is Mr. Alexey Mostovщиков. He is a chairman of the Digital Economy Subcommittee of Business Russia. He's also a chairman of Association of Young Entrepreneurs of Russia. And also he is the one in charge of the digital platform that unites digital companies of Russia. He as well is very much interested in in exploring, let's say, Indian market. And I'm sure he will now tell us a lot more about the opportunities that are there in startup ecosystem. Alexey,
welcome, Mr. Alexey.
Good day. Меня зовут Алексей, да, как уже сказали. Очень приятно вас сегодня видеть и слышать.
So hello everyone, my name is Alexey, and I'm very happy to meet you, to see you here today.
Как сказала Ольга, в России достаточно широко используются различные меры поддержки, различная инфраструктура для предпринимателей существует.
As it was mentioned, there is a lot of infrastructure that is being implemented in Russia for startups.
Также активно развивается сфера IT стартапов, сфера наукоемких стартапов.
So the sphere of IT and technologically wise companies is being very much developed.
Правительство России сейчас выделяет достаточно большие средства на развитие IT-отрасли, на переоснащение компаний новым IT-обеспечением и оборудованием.
So right now, government of the Russian Federation spends a lot of money on the IT sphere first, on the movement of technical companies to IT and to development of IT sectors.
Да, к примеру, существует субсидия от Российского фонда развития информационных технологий, где могут выдать до 100 миллионов рублей безвозвратно на развитие того или иного решения программного, либо, соответственно, софта. И, конечно же, интересно кооперироваться с иностранными партнерами.
So, as an example, Russian Fund for Innovation Assistance has a subsidy about $1.5 million that can be used for the IT solution for companies. And of course, international cooperation in this respect is very much welcome.
Если проект более масштабный, на него требуются большие вложения, и он является инфраструктурным, то здесь Министерство цифрового развития России выдает льготные кредиты, заимствования по ставке до 5% в пределах до 2 миллиардов рублей.
So in case the project is very big and it requires a lot more money and the project is in respect of infrastructure, then the Minister of Digital Development can provide with the subsidized credit up to down to 5% interest, which is very good for Russia.
Да, у нас еще активно работает фонд содействия инновациям, который также является оператором средств национального проекта «Цифровая экономика». И этот фонд помогает как раз-таки стартапам запустить их идеи.
Also, we have a fund for innovation assistance that helps startups to bring their ideas to life.
Да, там сейчас активно выделяются тоже субсидии от 3 до 20 миллионов. Вот буквально недавно 20 миллионов выделили на один из наших дружественных стартапов в сфере IT.
So they also have subsidies from $100,000 to $1 million. And for example, one of our startups recently received about $150,000 subsidy.
Тема партнерства с зарубежными нашими коллегами, она стоит очень, как сказать, на высоком уровне для многих регионов России, ну, стоит в приоритете для многих регионов России, и в каждом регионе стараются создать условия для вхождения иностранных партнеров и инвесторов.
So cooperation with foreign companies is in a priority in many regions. So each region tries to give better conditions than another region.
Каждый регион как раз-таки разрабатывает различные меры поддержки. Это могут быть и нулевые налоговые ставки, это могут быть льготные аренды на землю, где-то даже это бесплатно, льготные кредиты.
So all different regions, they provide different conditions. So it can be zero tax, income tax, it can be subsidies in land ownership, or it can be subsidies for the development.
Это все реализуется через так называемые особые экономические зоны в регионах, либо технопарки.
So all this is being done through the special economic zone or the technoparks.
К примеру, могу назвать Сколково, Сколково, Технополис, Иннополис, Сколково и Иннополис.
So, for example, the most famous ones are Skolkovo and Innopolis.
Сколково расположено в Московской области, а Иннополис в Республике Татарстан.
So Skolkovo is in the Moscow region and Innopolis is in the Tatarstan region.
Да, но также во многих регионах есть свои особые экономические зоны с уникальными условиями, особенно на Дальнем Востоке.
but every region has its own favorable conditions, especially in the Far East zone.
И, конечно же, российские стартапы, они готовы партнериться с зарубежными коллегами. Это сейчас происходит, мы это активно видим, и этому помогает российский экспортный центр.
So right now, there are a lot of Russian companies who want to partner with foreign companies, international ones, and we see it's becoming more and more active, and that is done by Russian Export Center and Business Russia.
Соответственно, эта структура, она тоже оказывает различные меры поддержки, может кредитовать покупателей, которые покупают у российских производителей либо поставщиков услуг.
So Russian Export Center is also an entity that helps to increase the cooperation between Russian and, in our case, Indian companies. So they can also provide subsidies and the different favorable regions for example, goods or services.
Да, также он выдает льготные гарантии. Также, соответственно, выдает субсидии на участие в различных выставках, форумах и на получение сертификации, если продукция требует сертификации в зарубежном государстве.
Also, it helps with providing with the different guarantees, with getting certificates, permissions, and all the paperwork that is important to be done in respect of international partnership.
Да, также отдельно хотел остановиться в заключении на цифровых сервисах, которые сегодня существуют для зарубежных партнеров и стартапов.
Summing it all up, I just wanted to highlight few digital services that help international companies to find the right partner and to work in Russia.
В российском экспортном центре существует платформа «Мой экспорт», где экспортеры могут получить всю необходимую информацию и воспользоваться сервисами РЭЦ.
So first of all, it is a digital platform of Russian Export Center that helps to find the right partner and right information.
Да, и если же вы ищете контакты, связи с российскими предпринимателями, с российскими инвесторами, с командами российскими, здесь можно активно работать с двумя цифровыми платформами. Первая – это платформа «Деловой России», называется она «Цифровая Россия». И вторая – это платформа «Лидер ID», агентство стратегических инициатив.
So, should you want to find the contacts of the Russian companies, there are two other digital platforms. First of all, it is the digital platform of Business Russia, which is called the Digital Russia, and another one is the platform of our Agency of Strategic Initiatives.
Yes, Leader ID it calls. И также Leader ID. Leader ID. Также у нас есть специализированная платформа, которая занимается непосредственно стыковкой на строительном рынке. То есть если у вас стартапы связаны так или иначе со стройкой, то, соответственно, стыковку можно производить через эту платформу. Называется она Orlan System.
So we also have different specialized platforms. For example, a platform in construction, which is called an Orlan platform. It helps to connect companies in the construction sectors.
Да, здесь собраны основные участники строительного рынка России. Это девелоперы, застройщики и производители строительных материалов.
So the participants of this platform are the main developers, the construction materials buyers and sellers of Russia.
Да, и дополнить меня по этой теме я хотел бы попросить Андрея Лупий. Он как раз-таки расскажет о стартапах в сфере, строительной сфере и подробнее о платформе, которая поможет этим стартапам благодаря этой платформе продвинуться на рынок России.
So I would like to introduce Andrei Lupi, who will help me, who will explain more on system and on the situation. Andrei.
Коллеги, здравствуйте. Мы как раз сейчас находимся на строительной выставке.
Hello, everyone. Right now we're in the construction exhibition.
Мы занимаемся как раз созданием строительной экосистемы, чтобы объединить всех участников и сделать быстрым, комфортным их взаимодействие.
We are doing the construction ecosystem for all participants from all over the world to make their cooperation comfortable and profitable.
Мы как раз помогаем транслировать какие-то удачные кейсы для других компаний.
We to create successful cases.
I'm sorry, Olga, there was a small technical issue. Could you please repeat the last statement?
So they help, they create different favorable conditions for cooperation of companies. Андрей, ты меня слышишь?
Да, мы также помогаем, как сказал Алексей, продвигать различные стартапы. На следующей неделе как раз мы будем рассматривать стартапы, которые контролируют качество товарного бетона.
We also help. We also introduce different different startups. For example, next week we will have introduction of a few startups who are in checking the quality of concrete.
Также рассматриваем стартапы, которые развиваются в других странах, для того, чтобы также можно было их транслировать как в Россию, так и, соответственно, в другие еще страны.
Also, we work with international startups, so we can introduce them not only to Russia, but also to the international market.
Поэтому с удовольствием посотрудничаем по строительному направлению.
So we will be very happy to cooperate with you in respect of construction startups or any companies who deal with somehow with this sphere.
У нас уже есть контакт с некоторыми индийскими строительными компаниями, которым, в принципе, интересно работать с нашей платформой.
As an example, we already have connections with a few Indian startups in the construction sphere who are very keen on working with us and exploring opportunities that this ecosystem can provide.
Мои контакты, в принципе, есть либо Алексей, либо могу их выслать, да, то есть, в принципе, готов к сотрудничеству. Спасибо.
So we will be very happy to cooperate. Should you have any questions or will you, if you need our contact details, I'll be happy to share and to help you with exploring these opportunities. Thank you very much, Andrei. Спасибо.
Thank you. Спасибо.
So, colleagues, I hope you have. We actually tried to show you what are the opportunities and possibilities in the Russian market for digital companies, and for companies that are interested in entering a Russian market with their ideas and maybe explore the opportunities here. So, as both Alexei and Andrei mentioned, that government right now supports in a very high way all initiatives, and international cooperation is of a priority in there. So if you have any questions, I will be very happy to answer them, or should you have any ideas you want to check and try to find out whether they will be well accepted in Russia or not, I'll be very happy to help. And so I think that you have a little bit of understanding right now what is happening in Russia, and I hope we can find good friends and partners for our future. So thank you very much. And can you hear me?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Olga,
Yeah.
Mr. Alexei, and Mr. Andre for that wonderful speech. With that, we know the kind of potential that we have in Russia. So I would like to take this opportunity to announce that ICC and Business Russia has entered into an MOU to build trade relations between the countries and increase dialogue between industries across various sectors, including the startup segment. I would like to thank Ms. Olga Kulikova for this initiative. And with this, we look at various delegation-led programs that would that both the countries are looking at in investment opportunities. As part of the MOU, both the ICC and Business Russia will share business intelligence and help entrepreneurs from both the countries to conduct business with each other through this association. This is just the beginning of one of our relationship between India and Russia, and we are sure that we'll get better as and when we work together. Now, may I request Dr. Rajiv Singh, Director General, Indian Chamber of Commerce, to please throw some light on this MOU.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank Olga for not only briefing us about what both the sides in terms of startups and the businesses can do, but also helping us overcome the language barrier and translate everything for us. Thank you. I would also like to thank Alexei and Andre. I understand you are all at some expo, construction expo. So in spite of your engagement, you could join. I think India, Russia definitely have a lot in common. And historically, both the sides, the political leadership at the highest level, have a great bonding. It's not only the political leadership, but people on both sides, I think, like each other, and it becomes a very natural that both the sides also and deepen the engagement in terms of business. In terms of startups, I think there are plenty of areas which can be explored. We just heard what Russia is doing, all the digital initiatives which the government of Russia and the businesses have taken. I think that really opens up a big market. Russia has huge expertise in the defense sector, and government of India is also supporting startups to cooperate with the large defense companies. So that becomes one area where the Indian startups and the Russian startups can work with the large defense sector companies, even not only large, but even mid and small size companies who are looking at solutions, components, services for the defense sector. In addition to that, there is a project which both the governments have agreed, that is to deepen the business linkages in areas like IT, ICT, medicines, pharma, renewable, aerospace, environment, biotechnologies, robotics, drones. And another big area which is emerging is the well tech and the fashion tech. All these wearables, all these smart watches. And so that is one segment where already a lot is happening. And there again, Russia has expertise, and with Indian ICT industry, I think there are natural synergies for both sides. We as ICC we would look forward to working with you all, and ICC and we can jointly help support startups on both the sides. And even going beyond startups, I think we could help our small and medium companies, even let's say some of the priority sectors. And we look forward to working with you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you again.
Very much.
Thank you, Dr. Singh.
And
yeah,
we're
sure.
waiting. Sorry, I just want to welcome everybody to Russia. We're all waiting for you here.
Absolutely. We are also waiting because we have been at home for now 18 months.
Great.
Looking forward.
Looking forward.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Olga. Thank you, Dr. Singh. With that, we end the session, and we look forward to joining again at 8:30, where we have a masterclass waiting for you. I think that's a very good session, which you should definitely attend by Mr. Sanjay Mehta, from the founder of 100x VC. 8:30, the same link, you may use the same link. You may also want to know that all the sessions over the week will be available on YouTube simultaneously. So in case you miss out on any particular part for various reasons, please do visit our social media pages and YouTube to review all the discussions. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.